Disturbing content warning. Please be advised that the content of this episode contains true stories of extreme violence, murder, cannibalism, torture, the death of children, and episodes of mental health crises. If you're sensitive to any of these topics, it's advised that you exercise extreme caution or avoid this episode altogether.
Traveling south with the frostbitten winds of the north, it has once again found the land that it favors for its food. Spending the warmer months dreaming of the momentary satisfaction it gains from piercing its teeth into the abdomen of its feast is torturing, to say the least. The frost has come again, and with it, the path it needs to meat viscera and bone it craves with every moment of its existence. This year it's bigger, and just like years before, the hunger has grown deeper. The pit of emptiness in its gut can never be satisfied, so the hunger grows. The perfume of depression fills the air, putting its hunger into overdrive as it breathes in the fear of a victim not too far away. The cold spirit has marked another as its new vessel, in its never-ending search for human flesh. This one was easy. The will to fight for his life was almost gone. The possessed man grabs the axe that lay beside the woodpile. He no longer feels the need to bring warmth into his life. His eyes stays fixed on the camp he calls home, and his stomach embraces the thought of those he calls family. The delicious taste of copper pours out of his lip from his first taste of human flesh. He is no longer who he was a minute ago, and he is moments away from ending the ritual, completing the transition into a Wendigo. Welcome back to Infinite Rabbit Hole.
I better get a signed copy of the first book you put out.
Yeah?
Yeah. Dude, that was
Is it
sick.
good?
That was sick.
Good.
Wow.
Yeah, look at me. I am.
You were like a murderous Dr. Seuss in the beginning. That was pretty cool.
Well, good. All right, welcome back to Infinite Rabbit Hole. My name's Jeremy. I'm going to be your guide today down this path of the rabbit hole. And joining me, I have my co-host, Jake. Jake, what's going on, bud? How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a good day, and I am incredibly excited for the guests that we have today. It's made my day so much better because of it.
I've been looking forward to this for a long time. It just sucked that we had to wait this long. But that's okay, because we finally got her to come on the show. And if anybody was listening to the Jersey Devil episodes, you have a little bit of an idea of who we're talking about. A while back, say about a month now, we got an email from a fan. It's our first fan email. And she kind of just told us how awesome we were. And we were like, yeah, we know. No.
Yeah, you're right.
But honestly, it was an awesome email. There were some really kind things said and some really meaningful words. And so we kind of came to the conclusion that we wanted her to come onto the podcast and co-host the show. So we reached out and we offered that to her, and she finally got back to us and she said yes. So everybody listening in to this episode of Infinite Rabbit Hole, I'd like to introduce our special co-host for the night, Kenzar. Welcome to the Infinite Rabbit Hole.
Hello, thank you. What's up, guys?
So you said that you found us through listening to one of our good friends in podcasting, the Hush Hush Society Conspiracy Hour.
Yes.
I actually told Dave that from Hush Hush. I was talking to him last night a little bit about, things. We kind of bounce ideas off of each other every once in a while and bullshit. He's actually become like a podcast pen pal with me. Good dude. He was like, dude, that's awesome. I told him, thank you for being a podcast, because without you guys, Kenzar and us wouldn't have been able to make this connection. And do this special event, which is very, very exciting. Big stuff to us.
That's awesome.
Basically, how the conversation went with the guys was, hey, I would like to reach out and see if she wants to come on an episode. And without hesitation, everyone said, yeah, super quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was CJ who was like, well, what are we going to talk about? And I was like, I don't care. Whatever the fuck she wants to talk about. So, I reached out and asked you what you want to talk about. And you said, well, I'm a huge fan of cryptids. And I said, what do you want to talk about? And you said something from Canada. So I gave you a list. And Kenzar, would you like to announce the topic for the night?
We are going to talk about the Wendigo, an Algonquin legend, folklore.
What made you pick the Wendigo?
I don't know. It's just I like creepy things, I guess is all I could say. I like creepy, I like unknown, and I like anything Canadian. Sorry, I love my Canadian background. I can't help it.
Very nice.
There I go, apologizing for it.
Did you listen to the episode we did with Phantom Phil on the Ogopogo?
Yes.
Yeah.
That one I liked that episode quite a bit. I'll be honest with you. I don't remember much of it. It's been a while since I've listened to it. But I do enjoy it. Phantom Phil's a cool guy.
I don't really remember a lot of it either, but I remember it was a really good episode. Remember Jake and I did it, and at the end we were like, wow, that was a much better episode than we thought, which has been happening a lot lately, Jake.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think that the reason why is because we have been really doing our best for every episode. And the reason why we can't really remember that episode is because we pretty much have to brain dump every single time we do a new topic. We're not Jeff. Jeff would just throw stuff out at the top of his head, and it's just insane the amount of things he knows that covers a specific topic. But, Jeremy and I will basically, we get down with an episode, and then we'll brain dump it, and then we'll pack it full of the next thing, in our own specific research styles. But yeah, I don't know. We gotta get Phil back on here.
We do. We'll reach out to him.
Whatever. We'll figure that one out. But just on my end, I'm so glad to have Kenzar on here with us. I was just explaining to her right before we started recording that the initial drive of our podcast amongst entertaining people and getting people to kind of realize that maybe some of their creepy experiences aren't so isolated to themselves was to convince people to come here with us and to, get the fans engaged in the capacity where they would want to come on the show with us and either share an experience. And I know we say it every single episode, share an experience with us. If you want to guest host, if you want to reach out, whatever. And the fact that Kenzar actually did that, and we talked about it in our Jersey Devil episode, that her email to us just, shook us up. It was very personal to us. We loved it. So of course, reaching out, and then Kenzar, you saying yes and saying, yeah, let's do this, and then being able to set up a time and all that stuff. And here we are. Today's the day. I'm super stoked. I can't wait for Jeremy to deliver. I know that he has tons of research on this topic. I can't wait for us to explore a cryptid or a legend or folklore, but from your area specifically up in Canada and then like the northern United States sort of area. But this is so cool. It's a really, really cool experience, and it's something that really tickles me because, I mean, this was the goal. This was the drive. We said it over and over and over and over and over again, and it kind of gets to the point sometimes where you feel like, maybe we should just stop saying it because it's never going to happen. And then it's just like, and then ta-da, here you go. And it's like, thank goodness, let's do it. As soon as possible, let's shift stuff around in our schedule. Let's make sure this happens because it's really important to us. So thank you so much, Kenzar, for taking the time to join us on this episode. And I really hope that, we can fulfill those expectations that you have of, whatever you came up with when you were thinking about, saying yes or, collaborating with us on the topic and all that sort of stuff. I really hope that we can deliver your expectation and stuff. So, but regardless, just thank you for taking the time to join us on here.
No, thank you guys for having me on. Like, this is so cool to me. Like I was saying earlier, just I'm a big on the small things. So just the tiniest little thing. You guys emailing me back, inviting me on. This is so cool to me. And I just expected to have fun with this episode, and that's all I'm here for, is to have fun and talk about a cryptid.
That's right.
Well, we're here to do both of those as well.
And talk about death. Lots of death.
Lots of death. That's yay! Everyone loves that.
Yay! Everyone's
Yay.
Favorite topic.
Fun.
Horrible loss of life.
Boy.
Every time we talk about death and stuff, our ratings just spike straight through the roof, and it's like, geez, man, these guys are fucked up.
These people are sick. I love it.
Wonderful in a sick way.
That's right.
Like Jake was saying, this is exactly what we made the podcast to do. So, Jake, congrats, man. We made it to the big leagues.
We did it. Now we can end the infinite rabbit hole. We've completed.
Don't do that.
We've already done that joke.
Yeah, I know. But every single time we hit a milestone, we have to make it. It's the rule.
Yeah, we'll do that every time.
Every single time.
But yeah, I hope Kenzar not only has a great time, but I hope that she's also a role model as such to anybody that's kind of nervous to reaching out to us. I mean, we're pretty cool dudes. I think I'm pretty cool. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty awesome. Jake's.
Yeah.
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 You no longer have to deal with CJ, and Jeff is just a vault of conspiracy knowledge.
Wonderful.
You know, I hope that people see Kenzar and realize that, hey, you know, she got the chance to come on the show. Maybe I can do that too. And the answer is yes. Yep. Yes, you can. You know, I love my interviews with authors. I love interviews with anybody that I get that's kind of in the world of the strange and unusual. But like Jake was saying, we really made this podcast to be able to interact with people with similar likes and interests or encounters, experiences. And this is it. This is the big league for us. So I'm nervous, Kenzar. I know I'm going to fuck this episode up.
You're nervous. I'm nervous. I've never done this, man.
I'm not nervous at all.
I had a friend ask me what I was most nervous about this, and I was like, this is going to be out for the entire world to hear. What if I make an absolute fool of myself?
If that's the case, we remove your name from every single time it's said. It's just silent. And then, I mean, because like, actually, when we did the Randall episode, you know, we used that name because he wanted anonymity. So, like, even if that was the concern, like, we could totally work with it.
No, it's all good. It's whatever. If I make a fool out of myself, I make a fool out of myself. That's fine. I've probably done worse things in this world.
Every time we say Kenzar, we'll just replace it with the name CJ.
Yeah.
He'll love that. All right. You guys ready to jump into the Wendigo?
I am.
I'm ready.
Well, here we go. We're going to dive right into the Wendigo. And now, although thought of to be fake by many different flavors of scientists, the Wendigo was very real to the First Nations people of northern North America. The fear was established in their civilizations due to the lore of the Wendigo, and it being real, and the stories of the creature was passed down through many generations, even to this day. The Wendigo wasn't only a creature, but was a representation of the environment that it is said to live in. And the creature's nature is described as one that is cold, evil, and hungry all of the time, perfectly matching the nature of the place it calls home, the northeastern boreal forest of North America. The location of the Wendigo and its lore is in the eastern half of Canada and the far northeastern and central states of the U.S. States such as Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, Iowa, North and South Dakota, and as far west as Montana. Before we talk about the Wendigo, it is important to talk about the environment that the Wendigo calls home. Known for frigid temperatures and being a very difficult place to live for humans without modern technologies, the boreal forest biome is home of the Wendigo. The animals that live in the boreal forests are built to withstand freezing temperatures, migrate long distances during the varying seasons, and find scarce food supplies, even eating food outside of what we think is normal for the species. The Wendigo has been so impactful in the areas that it is said to live that many places are named after the creature. 32 places in Ontario and 5 in Manitoba have the word Wendigo or one of its spelling variations. A handful of places in the northern US as well are named after the Wendigo, including Wendigo Lake in Minnesota. Wendigo Lake is known for being a lake within a lake. For those of you trying to picture that, I got you. Wendigo Lake is a lake in an island on a lake. And yes, Wendigo Lake has an island as well. So technically there's an island in a lake, in an island and a lake in Minnesota, which is part of North America, which is surrounded by ocean.
Manitoba is actually really well known for the amount of water and lakes that they have. So I'm not surprised that there's lakes within lakes within lakes within islands and whatnot. I believe Manitoba has one of the largest lake count, first being such a small province in comparison to like Ontario. There's a lot of lakes.
Like Minnesota, Jake, that's the land of 1,000 lakes, right? I'm pretty sure that's the nickname of Manitoba. I mean, not.
Wait, no,
Minnesota.
What are you talking about? You're being
Minnesota.
crazy right now.
You're being crazy. Minnesota. The slogan is the land of 1,000 lakes, right? Right? Tell me I'm right, Jake.
Of 1,000 lakes. Finland.
No, really?
I typed in land of 1,000 lakes and it says visit Finland.
Hold on.
So
Minnesota
no.
slogan.
Minnesota. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
I'm just saying Finland, the land of 1,000 lakes.
It says right here. What is the nickname for Minnesota? Land of 1,000. Oh, 10,000 lakes.
10,000 lakes. There you go.
10,000 lakes. There it is.
Yeah. See that Finland? We've got 10 times the lakes you do.
In one
Minnesota.
State.
That's a lot of lakes.
And I'm looking at a map right now, and guess what's right over Minnesota?
Finland.
No. Manitoba, Jake.
And Manitoba is cold too, so
Minnesota's
perfect
cold
conditions.
Too. Yeah, that's why it's the land of the Wendigo.
Yep.
All right, so moving on. Like many other creatures of lore, there are many different descriptions of the Wendigo, but most commonly, the Wendigo is described as one of 3 ways: an evil spirit, a cannibalistic human, or a very large non-human creature with various kinds of physical attributes. The argument by many people is based on their personal belief of the monster. But what most people fail to understand or think of is that Algonquian traditions show that the Wendigo is a creature that goes through stages of life just as we do, and actually covers all 3. This was best described by Chad Lewis and Kevin Lee Nelson in the book Wendigo Lore, as a change similar to a caterpillar into a butterfly. They are the same creature, but without knowing better, there would be no way to understand the fact. Algonquians believed that the Wendigo began as a cannibalistic human. Then over time, due to its habits, it would physically change into a larger quote-unquote creature that was unrecognizable to other humans. Therefore, the creature, like Wendigo, would be more of a later stage Wendigo, and then once it finally died, it became a spirit Wendigo. The primary idea behind becoming a Wendigo is when a person was led to cannibalism in some way. But there were other ways for people to be seen as possible threats of becoming a Wendigo. The Algonquins held a tradition
Algonquins?
Shut up, Jake.
I'm just saying. You don't have to pronounce it right, but you could try.
The Algonquins. Yeah, get your giggles out. Get your giggles out, Jake.
Just to settle the score, Minnesota has 11,842 lakes, but Finland has 187,888 lakes. Finland's got way more lakes.
Oh, did it? Oh, whatever.
187,000 lakes, dude.
Yeah, that's
the land of all the lakes.
That's a number of lakes.
Anyway.
Hey everybody, Bear with us while we take this quick break.
The Algonquin held the tradition. Fuck you, dude.
All right.
All right, Jake. Mute your mic. Thank you. The Algonquins held a tradition where when a young man was ready for his transition into manhood, he would go on a quest away from the tribe in the forest while fasting the whole time. The test would force the boy to face his own fears and create a connection with their Pawagon, or dream visitor. Pawagonic, which is the proper plural word for Pawagon, were regarded as a particular person's patron spirit, which the boy would meet for the first time in their lives during this tradition. Pawagonic came in 3 types: a human form, mostly taking the form of a hero or ancestor, an animal, and a semi-human entity such as Thunderbird, Mamagwesi, or even the Wendigo. Now, one thing of importance to notice that I said was Wendigo, as in singular. That is because it was the Algonquin belief that there was one primary Wendigo that is connected to and affecting all of those that are considered to be Wendigos or Wendigo spirits. While the lesser being Wendigos are the ones that are most known to us now, the greater Wendigo is a Pawagon that's on the level of eternal, ancient, and original. Therefore, only being able to be battled by or defeated by other eternal, ancient, and original beings, whereas the human-based Wendigos could be battled against by human means. Another interesting fact about how one becomes a Wendigo is that the human flesh that a person needs to ingest doesn't have to be physical. A common way for a person to eat another person's flesh is through a trick played by a Wendigo spirit, or even the Pawagon itself, visiting someone in their dream and tricking the person into eating a piece of meat that is human, therefore beginning the transformation into a Wendigo. Dreams in which a Wendigo is not present can still be interpreted as a visitation of sorts by the spirit. Dreams of ice, cold, gluttony, and death are often interpreted as messages from the Wendigo and early signs that the person's Pawagon is in fact a Wendigo. All right, I'm at a break. Anybody have anything to say? Jake?
No.
All right, keep going.
Keep going.
All right. One of the most common and popular symptoms of becoming a Wendigo is hunger. But many different cases of someone becoming a Wendigo comes from someone who has plenty of food and is not hungry. Another common symptom includes signs of extreme cabin fever or seasonal affective disorder, in which someone is very anxious about the upcoming winter, which normally brings starvation and freezing temperatures. Signs of this would be someone who stops eating, very anxious, and becomes violent and hard to control. Other symptoms can include claims that their body is being invaded, paranoia, and anger. Extreme swelling of the body and claims that their heart is cold are direct signs that person is going Wendigo. Some cases of hearts or spines being frozen during post-mortem investigations have been documented, as well as sounds of ice crackling or chipping in the closed chest. Oftentimes, because people grow up knowing the signs and symptoms of Wendigo possession, they would often ask to be either tied up or killed if these symptoms would start to take root in themselves in order to save others. A person is gone and cannot come back from transitioning into a Wendigo once they have taken their first bite of human flesh. The reversal must happen before this moment, and not many remedies are said to exist for stopping the transformation. One such remedy is tying the person up and forcing them to drink boiling tallow or bear fat to quench their hunger and melt the ice forming on their body. We will get into other techniques later. There are more ways to become possessed by a Wendigo spirit. Improper use of shamanistic techniques and spiritual targeting by a shaman may also bring on the transformation to Wendigo. Tribal shamans may have had many reasons to sick the Wendigo spirit on another person, but one known reason was being refused a wife. One story in the book Wendigo Lore was a young woman being denied to marry a shaman due to her being too young. When she returned home one late morning, her mother and baby sibling were still sleeping in their bed. She thought it was odd that her mother was still sleeping, so late in the morning and attempted to wake her up. Upon contacting her mother, she found that her mother's body was cold and stiff, and the baby was alive and eating one of the mother's breasts, with the other one already eaten off. She ran to a neighboring camp and told of the horror that she had discovered. The baby was killed for going Wendigo. After being killed, it was found that the baby's spine had been frozen solid. Another way a shaman calls upon the Wendigo is to attack the tribe or member indirectly. One example of this is to summon the Wendigo to rid the area of wild animals, which would restrict the successful hunting of the tribe. The idea behind this is to starve the tribe and force them into becoming vulnerable to becoming a Wendigo. Depending on the region, the physical characteristics may vary of what a Wendigo actually looks like. Most commonly, a Wendigo begins as looking just like a human. After some time has passed, they begin to slowly transform into a true Wendigo shape. The older and more successful Wendigo are large. In fact, they can be very large. Some have been seen standing taller than full-grown trees. It is said that the more a Wendigo eats, the larger it gets, but the hunger never goes away. They are described as being very thin and sick-looking, like a malnutrition with skin that is pulled very tight over their bones. But make no mistake, this does not mean that they are weak. In fact, it is said that the representation of being frail, sick, and weak looking actually means that the Wendigo is much stronger than its healthier brethren. A Wendigo's skin is colorless gray or even black in areas of frostbite. Hardened from being frozen, the Wendigo's skin makes it hard to hurt with conventional weapons. The Wendigo doesn't have any lips around their mouths. This is because the hunger for human flesh is so bad that they will eat their own lips as one of their earliest meals. Often, there are parts of the Wendigo's body that are torn with bone and muscle being exposed. These would look like they have a history of injuries from battle or hunting, but in fact, these are from the Wendigo's feasting on itself during extreme cases of hunger. Inside of their mouths, they have yellow teeth, sometimes missing quite a bit. The canines have formed to become more of fangs, like that of a predator. Depending on the age, gender, and how far into becoming a Wendigo the creature is, the hair is said to be white or gray and very thin. Some accounts claim that there is no hair at all, where some claim that hair is present on the back, but it looks very similar to that of layered fur. Wendigo will often have moss growing on their skin. It is said that common practice of a Wendigo is to cover itself in tree sap and roll around the dirt, sand, and mud, creating a hardened armor of sorts by use of filth and forest debris. As I stated before, the Wendigo is the personification of winter, and therefore is most active during the times of the year when snow, ice, and extreme wind are active. It is said that the Wendigo come down from the north as the winter gets colder and the snow starts piling up around the northeastern part of North America. They very, very rarely will go south of the states mentioned before because the cold does not stay long enough to be able to keep frozen parts of the Wendigo's anatomy frozen. So to all those people that post on Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit that claim that you saw a Wendigo in North Carolina, Texas, or California, the answer is no, you did not. You may have seen something, but a Wendigo is not what you saw. That was a personal jab at one of my very early spats on cryptid Facebook pages. I won't really get into that, but fuck you, dude. When they arrive, you will know by the unmistakable scream that can be heard from miles in every direction. The scream is said to leave people frozen with fear, in both literal and non-literal senses. But as the days get warmer, and it is said that they retreat only to the areas where ice and snow can be found year-round. The tops of mountains and large hills in the far north, or almost anywhere a cave can be located in the Arctic Circle. But once the cold begins to drift south again, and the hunger is at its peak, from a long spring, summer, and fall with little or no human flesh, the Wendigo follows the snowfall and begins the hunt once again. Now, as a Paragon, the Wendigo uses owls and porcupines as spies or minions in its endeavors. Porcupines and owls are thought to be allies of the Wendigo, and are often seen as signs of the presence of the creature or a sign that a Wendigo is ready to attack. Screeches heard by owls in the daytime are seen as signs of impending doom. From what exactly? That could be many things, and one of those many things are thought to be, of course, the Wendigo. That's what we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wendigos are also said to be able to shapeshift, often into their animal friends, the porcupines and owls.
Owls terrify me. Whenever I hear an owl, I'm like, let's get the frick out of here, like right now. They are, I don't know, they scare me. They terrify the ever-living crap out of me for some reason.
Have you ever seen the movie The Fourth Kind?
No, I have not.
That was...
That movie is trash, but there's owls in it.
There is owls in it. I didn't think the movie was trash. I thought it was a good
you
movie.
thought the lady that was acting in it, that was real footage until I showed you the picture of the actress that plays that lady and that it was not real footage. Okay? That movie was garbage.
You're garbage.
It literally is based off of nothing. And so many people think that it's a real story. In any case, there's an owl in there, and it shows up when the aliens are coming to get them.
Yeah. Everything about owls, everyone's always just been like, oh, there's such a, I don't know, whenever there's an owl around, weird shit happens.
I mean, all I knew before The Fourth Kind is anytime an owl showed up, so would David Bowie in those tights. And I was just like, easy there, master of the labyrinth.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, I'm kicking it to a movie that's 30 years old.
To watch it. David Bowie, okay.
Yeah, owls. Anyways, so in the movie The Fourth Kind, owls are used as what's called a screen memory, where every time an owl is represented in a movie, it's actually a time where an alien was present. So instead of seeing the alien, you saw an owl. These are called screen memories, and they're actually, a lot of abductees say that they've unveiled their screen memory due to, what's it called when you go to sleep?
Dreams.
No, when the psychologist puts you to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. The
Hypnosis.
thing where they go, hypnosis. Yeah. So that's like one way that you can unveil your screen memory. But yeah, anyways, Wendigos, right? So, according to Chad Lewis and Kevin Lee Nelson's book, Wendigo Lore, the epicenter of current Wendigo activity seems to be Slave Lake, Wabasca regions of Alberta. They even go as far as to label it as the territory of terror in their book.
Athabasca and Wetaskiwin and all that area is kind of interesting. Very cold there.
Is it very Wendigo-like?
Yes, it can be. There's lots of forest. There's lots of... Growing up, my grandfather had a cabin that was literally in the middle of the woods, and we didn't have indoor plumbing.
Really?
I refused to go to the bathroom at nighttime. Absolutely refused to, because I was really young at the time, so I wasn't really into the cryptids yet, but I was still terrified of what could be out there, period. Yeah. And in my mind, it could have been literally anything, because...
Owls.
Exactly, owls.
I'm going to get eaten by this owl.
It's just very thick forest, and it gets very cold in the winter times. It's the perfect area for it. Yeah, I don't know. Owls are just scary, okay?
I like owls. I actually like them.
They're cool to look at, but... I don't know. Every time some freaky shit happens, there's an owl somewhere.
You ever seen their little legs?
Very close by. Oh, yeah, they're adorable. Don't get me wrong.
Jake, you ever seen owl legs? They're so little.
Yeah.
They're little skinny chicken legs, man.
Yep.
Like, that's not what I thought an owl's legs looked like. For some reason, I just thought they always like sat on like one foot.
I always thought they had like big man legs. And then I was just like, oh, they don't.
Or maybe not even legs at all, and they just sat in their butt. You know, like it doesn't even look like they have legs.
Just butthole on a tree branch.
I kind of thought they more had like, it was more like a penguin type situation.
See,
they
that
don't
makes
really
more sense.
have legs, right?
Right. That's what I thought.
They I mean, they have kneecaps and everything, but it doesn't look like they do. They just waddle around. There's no actual appendage there.
They're like cankles.
Yes.
Yeah.
For those of you that didn't know, owls have cankles.
That's right.
Yep.
Officially.
Officially. Alert the scientists. We've figured it out.
I'm going to write a handwritten letter to my local biologist and send it by horseback.
That's right.
Yes.
Owls now have cankles. Send a picture of a cankle for reference.
Oh boy.
Write a journal on this. So, Kenzar, next I have Swift Runner. You want to take a shot at it?
I gotta be honest with you guys. I have never seen owl legs like this before. This is blowing my mind.
Right?
Yeah. Owls are cute little creatures, I'll admit, but they're terrifying.
Look at those things. There's some like stripper legs.
Right? It looks like you should be putting like some fishnets on them.
That's crazy.
They got these little sticks, man. You're like, okay, a bird, and you're like, oh, these things have thighs. You're thinking like chicken thighs, right? You're like, cook me up some of them owl thighs, and you get it, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah,
nothing.
Because I thought for sure. I was like, wait a second, they do have penguin legs. Like, what are you talking about? And I mean, this picture will prove it. That
right.
I'm just like, I've never seen owl legs before. That's you blew my mind. That's crazy. One of God's marvelous creatures with their crazy looking legs. Goodness.
Mother Nature's wild.
Wild.
I want a poster of this. All right, Kenzar, take a whack at it.
So, Swift Runner, he was a Fort Saskatchewan officer. He cannibalized his family. He was very, very violent and drunk. He was fired from the police force and ended up getting kicked out of his own tribe. Winter of 1878, he decided to walk his entire family of 6 kids, a wife, his mother-in-law, and his brother into the forest. That spring, he came out and claimed his entire family was dead. They died of starvation, but police were kind of suspicious because he looked a little too healthy for the story that he was telling. The other hunters and whatnot that winter had a very good winter, so there was no starvation for anybody else, so they were kind of curious as to why Swift Runner and his family had some issues. And then the last straw with this guy was he ended up trying to leave a group of kids into the forest, and that was when people had had enough. So then there was a trial in 1879 where he was sentenced to death by a jury with only a 20-minute deliberation. And he was the first man to be legally hung in Alberta.
Yes.
Man.
Jake, you got anything on Swift Runner?
No, I had seen the exact same story.
I got a little bit different.
Was it Swift Runner or was it someone else that, well, he ate his whole family?
Yeah.
Yeah, he ended up eating his whole family. He led the police to the spot where he was camping out, and they found a whole bunch of bones and whatnot broken. He ate the marrow and absolutely everything. And yeah.
But was his spine frozen?
Well, hold on. Let me fill the gaps in here. I got quite a bit here. But yeah, Kenzar she got all like the major talking points out, right? So Swift Runner was a Cree Indian living from Athabasca, Alberta, Canada. At the time of the gruesome events, he was roughly 40 years old and lived with his wife and 6 children. In the winter of 1878, Swift Runner's family, his mother, his brother, and himself were traveling to his trapping lands to gather food for the winter, which started off very successful according to his telling. But over time, the wild game became scarce and the hunters began struggling with hunger. In the spring of 1879, so the same winter into spring, Swift Runner appeared in town in St. Albert, 200 pounds and looking to be in extremely good health. When he reported the death of his entire family due to starvation, people started to question how he can appear to be in such great shape, looking like he ate very well throughout the entirety of the winter, but his family had all died from starvation. Due to building concerns, the mounted police were summoned and followed Swift Runner back to his winter home. Swift Runner showed extreme hesitation and was forced into being chained up in order to attempt to force him to cooperate. Due to nervousness and not wanting to lead the police to his winter camp, Swift Runner led the men in circles for days. Soon, the choice was made to trick Swift Runner into drinking alcohol in hopes that he would be more cooperative. It worked. In his drunken haze, Swift Runner led the police directly to the remains of his family. When they first entered the house, it was made perfectly clear that Swift Runner had murdered and eaten his entire family. Bones were snapped in half and missing the marrow. He even moved one of his family members' skulls by lifting it up by the eye socket and laying it on a table. Pots were still on the stove with boiled human remains in them, and depending on the source, Swift Runner even introduced a policeman to his wife or mother by showing them a partly clean skull with a lot of the flesh, hair, and teeth still attached. Anything that was certainly human remains, they bagged up. The rest they buried on the property, and Swift Runner was taken into custody. According to a French Catholic missionary, Father Hippolyte Ledoux, Swift Runner's story of what happened went like this. After being very successful in the forest during their hunting trip, Swift Runner became very sick sometime around February. Shortly after he fell ill, their luck with hunting and trapping ended, and they failed to kill another wild animal. After about a week, they had to kill their dogs to be able to support themselves. Shortly after that, his mother and brother left the cabin to try and find an animal to kill for food. And after many more days, with absolutely nothing to eat, his wife and 5 of their children left to attempt to track down his mother and brother in hopes that they killed an animal for food. This left Swift Runner alone with his 10-year-old son, who wanted to stay with his father. One morning, he had woken with extreme hunger pangs, and watching his son sleep on the floor next to the fire, he claimed that the evil had washed over him as he leveled his rifle at his son's head and shot him in the back, as he slept, and stabbed him twice in the side to ensure his death. The hunger had grown so strong that immediately after murdering his son, Swift Runner began eating the child, and did so for many days. After a handful of days, he had met back up with his wife and remaining children. He made them aware that their son had passed due to starvation, and the family returned to the camp. Soon after, the oldest son passed away and was buried near the camp in a shallow grave, dug with only an axe in a rock-hard permafrost. For a while, the family had to live off of boiled leather goods that they had around camp, including robes, shoes, and even the tent itself. But unfortunately, that only got them so far. One morning, he woke up and swung the axe into the chest of his wife and massacred his 3 daughters. The only ones alive were Swift Runner and his last remaining child, a boy of 7 years old, who was well asleep and could not function properly due to starvation. The boy and Swift Runner lived for 7 to 8 days, feasting on the meat, organs, and marrow of their family members. Soon after, the snow began to melt, and animals started to come around again. Their trapping and hunting grew successful, and Swift Runner grew worried that they would have to face people soon. One night, Swift Runner asked his son to grab something from a few paces away. At that point, Swift Runner claimed that the devil took over his heart. He shot his last remaining child in the back of the head and ate him, as he did with the rest of his family. Many may ask, why was this extremely disturbing story told? What does this have to do with Wendigo other than just cannibalism? Many will argue that this was a simple act of starvation. Bodies will do extreme things when faced with starvation, right? That's right. It is thought that this had started as an extreme act of starvation, but it evolved into a clear story of someone being possessed by a Wendigo and showed clear markers and symptoms of someone going through the transition. Swift Runner had plenty of food when he took the life of his last child. There was no reason why he had to kill him. But not only did he kill him, Swift Runner ate his last child even when there was plenty of food around for him to eat. Also, there were a few times when he referenced an evil coming over him before he committed these heinous acts. So that's what I had on Swift Runner.
Yeah, that's the story that I read. I just wrote a bunch of quick notes down.
That's fine. you had a couple things about him being ex-police officer
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I purposely left that out because I know that you went over it, so
Yeah.
I didn't add it to mine.
So he got the hunger then.
Oh yeah, definitely got the hunger.
I wonder if what we now know about prions and things like that, when someone cannibalizes another person and they eat the brain and the spinal column and they get the prions and it makes them insane, if that has anything to do with the motive behind killing and eating his final child when there was no reason to do so.
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. No idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
Super disturbing story. I
Mhm.
mean, I have a wife and 3 children, and geez, dude, I couldn't imagine having to get to a point in my life where I would decapitate them and eat them. I mean, man, it's just horrible.
Yeah, it is a lot to try and grasp.
Well, in the modern age, we have an actual term referring to the act of someone turning Wendigo. Although it is a popular topic in Fortean studies, Wendigo psychosis is not listed in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the definitive text on diagnosing mental disorders. Wendigo psychosis is what's referred to and categorized as a culture-bound syndrome, or syndromes that are known to affect a particular culture or area. The American Psychological Association's Dictionary of Psychology does list Wendigo psychosis and defines it like this. Quote, a severe culture-bound syndrome occurring among northern Algonquin Indians living in Canada and northeastern United States. The syndrome is characterized by delusions of becoming possessed by a flesh-eating monster and is manifested in symptoms including depression, violence, a compulsive desire for human flesh, and sometimes actual cannibalism. But what is or was truly going on behind turning Wendigo, or as we call it now, Wendigo psychosis? During the time of most of the cases of someone turning Wendigo, there was a plethora of different diseases rampaging through the native and pioneer populations. Influenza, measles, smallpox, and other diseases were often present, and one of the major symptoms of most, if not all of these, without proper medication was delirium. Delirium is defined by the Mayo Clinic as, quote, a serious disturbance in mental abilities that results in confused thinking and reduced awareness of the environment. And the most common symptoms of delirium are hallucinations, screaming, groaning, and other bodily and vocal noises, being withdrawn, quick personality changes, apathy, lethargy, depression, and of course, seasonal affective disorder. All symptoms being shared with the classic cases of someone turning Wendigo. I personally really like what Lewis and Nelson pointed out in their book Wendigo Lore. They gave a statistic saying that upwards of 10 million Americans are affected by seasonal affective disorder, and that is with us going through the most comfortable winters in human history. Which is true. We have solid houses to live in with heating and fridges filled with food, warm clothes, entertainment, and just overall comfort. But we are still affected by the winter season. People get depressed. When it is time to bundle up and huddle inside and say goodbye to the outside and the world for a few months. But could you imagine how it felt back then, where all you had was a teepee or a poorly built house built of fallen or chopped down trees, sticks, leaves, mud, and maybe a few other small carpentry items? Every night having to sleep on the cold floor next to the fire as your way of staying alive from the weather that regularly reached negative 30 degrees, if not more, in most places, hoping food was going to be around so that you can risk your life to feed your family and yourself in 3 feet of snow and freezing wind, only to return home soaked, wet, in a mixture of melted snow caused by your lost body heat and the sweat caused by wearing enough layers to keep you alive for this life endangering trip, and top it all off with another failed hunting trip with an empty stomach that hasn't had a chance to fill its reserves in weeks. I would say that if Americans now are suffering from delirium caused by seasonal affective disorder, then yeah, I think that what they were going through could have been magnified on a scale unfathomable by our modern medicine. Now, mix this all together with local legends and lore of a walking frozen spirit of the woods that is said to possess men and women and convince them that they wanted to eat flesh of other humans. The legend of the Wendigo makes sense.
But what about all the sightings?
Yes. I'll get into that in the very last part of this.
But yeah, I totally agree. Like, I mean, I deal with seasonal allergies. I deal with seasonal allergies and also seasonal depression. Not so much in Southern California. It's 85 degrees outside right now, and this is the hottest it's going to get. And the coldest it gets is like the mid 50s. Like, this is a perfect climate over here.
I wish.
When I was living in Virginia, I mean, granted, it's not a snowy area. You know, it's supposed to get some kind of snowfall, but it's not like, you know, Canada. It's not the northern United States. It certainly isn't New York. You know, it's not those areas where it just dumps snow and people get stuck in their homes for, you know, however much time they're there for. But the only good thing I saw about wintertime was hunting season. Like, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it was always raining. It was always overcast. Like, that vitamin D deficiency sort of thing set in, because I need to be outside. I need to be out in the sunshine. I'm one of those sorts of people. I have to spend time outside every single day, and or else I start getting affected by it. And it's scientific fact that, you know, a vitamin D deficiency, if you're used to it all the time, being out in the sunshine, if you start becoming deficient in that, you will start getting depressed. You will start having issues and things like that, because it's an incredible shift to your mood and your happiness and all kinds of stuff. But I can absolutely see that just from my perspective. And the way that you described it was outstanding, because, like, even if you have like a cabin that, say, has been in your family for generations, or you have your second house or something like that, right? You have some wilderness like escape. Even then, you know, being isolated like that, especially if it's by choice, but it's a completely different experience than having to survive in an area like that, with all the stress that's included in that. You know, the Native Americans, you know, whether that was, you know, not exclusively United States, we're talking about North America too, all of North America, which is Canada too, but they lived off the land. You know, whether they moved with the animals that were moving, you know, due to the seasons or whatever it is, or they stayed put, they lived off the land. They had to rely on those food sources, whether they were fish, or whether they were deer or bear or whatever from hunting, or whether they were wild vegetation, you know, or whether they were farmers, you know, they lived off the land. They had to eat. They had to either preserve food or get it while, you know, when the animals would come through, or however that worked out for each individual tribe, depending on where they were at. But having to deal with every single year with a tremendous amount of stress, but, you know, just because winter comes and animals kind of naturally den up or move out. But think about being stuck in that position, you know, and not being able to leave or whatever it is. Like, I could absolutely see that it would get to a point for some people where they would just snap. It would just, it'd be too much for them. We see this sort of stuff nowadays, and I don't know how much, you know, what we've done as a human race has done to climate change and all that stuff. You know, I don't really get so hard into that sort of stuff, because we just don't have enough recorded history to say that any of this stuff is new. But we see, like, every so often these nor'easters are like rip through the northern states and things like that, right? And they're just like, they just slam these areas, and we have these hurricanes, and we have all the sorts of things. Well, record-breaking snowfall happens every so often. The pattern is every year we get X number of feet of snow, and people can deal with that, and people can get used to that and all that sort of stuff. But then there's that 1 year or those 2 years where it is record snowfall. And people are just like, yeah, there's 9 feet of snow in front of my front door. Imagine having to deal with stuff like that when maybe your entire life was, yeah, well, we know how to deal with the winters. We just X, Y, and Z. And then something like that happens, and then you're stuck. And then you're dealing with starvation, or you're dealing with, record snowfall, or whatever it is, right? It's just the stress that comes from just existing off the land. And then now you're dealing with this too. And so I feel for these people, Now, unfortunately, obviously, according to this story, it was apparent there too that just because you go insane, or because you snap, or you lose it, or you develop some sort of mental issue because of that amount of stress, and you commit some horrible crimes, it doesn't keep you out of getting your just awards for that crime.
Right.
They still executed the guy, which I would like to say that nowadays, at least, we have some semblance of, things that we can do for people that commit horrible, terrible tragedies while, having an episode, or while having some sort of mental breakdown. They don't get away with it, but they certainly get the help that they need, even if that help is mandatory for the rest of their lives and stuff like that. So that is rather unfortunate. But yeah, I don't know. That's pretty crazy. It's heavy. It's a lot to think about.
Agreed.
And what a horrible circumstance. And I know that I've never been in a position where I've been starving. And I've heard it said before that the thing that separates a healthy human being from an insane, crazy, whatever you can do human being is about 3 days of no food. Like, that can turn somebody from your next door neighbor that you say hi to when you get home from work and you chat up and all that stuff, to someone that would be willing to break into your house and kill everybody inside of it to steal everything out of your house to eat. Just like those worst case scenario sort of things, like society breakdown stuff. Like, literally 3 days is the separation between Jim next door and crazy Jim, trying anything he can to fill his belly. Like, that's it. That's the separation. So I've never been in a situation like that. So sitting where I'm at, I could always say I would never eat my dogs, or whatever it is. But until I'm in a situation where I'm legit, like, and we're so blessed in Canada, in the United States, that most people never deal with that sort of stuff like you see worldwide, unfortunately. But I have no idea. Everyone likes to say I'd never eat my kids or my wife, but truly you have no clue until you're faced with a situation like that. And God forbid it happens, Yeah. Crazy.
It's a lot to grasp. I grew up with having a lot of siblings. I'm the oldest of 11 kids, including the step siblings. There was a lot of us. I couldn't imagine I could not imagine having to do that to any of them. I don't speak to any of them anymore for other reasons, but I still couldn't imagine doing that to any of them, or anybody for that reason. It's just a lot to grasp.
I could imagine it. It'd be like eating a steak. that's
Damn, Jake.
Just meat.
I mean, I guess you're not wrong.
Yeah, it's just meat. Lean meat.
Ow.
I think it's like a good ribeye, except a bit off. A bit gamey,
Boy.
All right, let me finish this up here. I don't have too much left.
The spirit of the Wendigo, it's got me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Infinite Rabbit Hole. Please join us next week as we continue our dive into the Wendigo with our special guest, Kenzar.